Hello, I'm your host, Efi Pylarinou, and today I'm delighted to connect with one of the well-known futurists of our space, David Birch, who is already smiling because I called him a futurist. I hope he doesn't dislike these terms. You know, there's all these terms, thought leaders, experts. In any case, I don't even know which hats to refer to. You know, you're an author, you are, of course, a keynote speaker, and you are a consultant at 15 megabyte, right?
I have a lot of different hats at the moment, Effie. That's true, but that's what happens to old men. We have lots of different hats. It's okay.
It is not true. I think it's a question of you know, being curious and open, and I'm sure you are one of those people that are curious and open and have made it into a profession and share that with people. Isn't that an interesting twist, right, to who you are? David, I mean, as you said, you wear a lot of hats. When I think of you, I think of somebody who tries to box himself into a payment thought leader because that's what people understand, but really at your heart, you go at the infrastructure level and think a lot about digital identity, which is really behind everything, I would say, you know, Web3 and, you know, everything that's going on and all the advanced technologies. So let's bear that in mind. Today, I want to welcome you and focus on wearable payments because I have a psychological trauma. The last time we met at Money 2020, you got this awesome bracelet, a wearable bracelet, and you showed it to me in a very nice box. It was very fashionable. It had the hanging, I think, butterfly, and you said that you were going to give it to your wife, and I asked, could I find one too? And he said, it doesn't work outside the UK, right? Was that an honest answer?
That was an honest answer with those ones. Yeah, those ones did only work inside the UK, but that's to do with bank rules about bins and issuing and acceptance and whatever. It's not to do with the wearables themselves, but
yeah. So
that was from a company that I'm the non-executive chairman of called 𝐀𝐁𝐎𝐔.
Yeah,
and they've actually made some pretty interesting progress in that space. It's hard to explain why it's so exciting if you don't understand how cards work, which is kind of, it's like if I say to you, this is so cool because you can take a butterfly or a brooch or a charm or a ring or a key fob, whatever you want, and you can load your card into it and then just use your card wherever you want to go. That sounds like, oh great, you know, people go, oh that's cool. But if you understand how cards work, you'll understand why that's so cool. Because what's happening is the new chips that we have in those devices allow you to do what's called remote personalization. So in other words, in the old days, if I wanted to get you, let's say I don't know, I'm a big issuer and I want you to use my key ring or something. I have to get the right card details into the right chip into the right device to the right person. It's a complicated supply chain. It's expensive. But with the new technology, the chips don't need to be personalized in the factory anymore. The chips can be personalized. Personalization is the word we use for loading the card details and activating the chip. But now you can do that with an iPhone or an Android phone. So essentially, you can take any of the devices that you like. I mean, for example, the butterfly that you were talking about, and then you'll use your own phone to choose which card you want to load into your butterfly.
So the butterfly, the bracelet, the ring, the earring, whatever, is it syncing with an app that's on your phone or on your computer or not?
It's not syncing. It's the app on the phone is loading the relevant secure details into the chip. After that, you can just go and use the chip forever.
So it's a one-time thing. You kind of onboard your card.
Yeah. Although if you want to, you can always delete the, like, let's say, I don't know, say, for example, a lot of the travel companies are looking at these silicone wristbands for people to wear on the beach or in the swimming pool. So you might delete your card and load in a prepaid card for the kids to use or something like that. So
yeah. Or if you're going to a concert, a festival, you could have your pass, the ticket of that festival that allows you to enter the festival and maybe have one drink, whatever.
In fact, that's absolutely right. And in fact, we just did that for the Champions League soccer final. So DigiSec so MasterCard had key rings for their VIP guests that allowed them to, buy drinks and get in and various things. And that was DigiSec. We provided those. We also did the Roland Garros.
The Roland Garros, okay.
Last week as well. So the thing is, in the past, the wearables had a kind of complex supply chain, and the costs of that and the inflexibility of that were a problem. But now things are really changing, and the idea of wearables as utility in the silicone wristbands and so on, or loyalty, because I might want to pay with my Manchester City keyring, not with my iPhone, or security, because when I'm walking through the tube stations in London, I might not want to have my phone in my hand. Speaking of someone who had his phone stolen in London a couple of weeks ago, I just want to use my ring or.
Well, I mean, me as a woman, with those bags that have a ton of things in them, and you're searching for your phone amongst everything else. I would say that to be able to pay even for a coffee without having to take out your phone from your pocket or your handbag is a convenience. But there's a couple of things that I wasn't familiar until I wanted to speak to you, so I sort of prepared to ask some semi-intelligent questions.
Please.
Do I understand correctly that most of these wearables, or all of them, do not need charging, whereas my phone needs charging? And nowadays I don't take my handbag, I take my phone, but I'm worried that I might run out of battery.
Correct. So the things I was showing you, the key rings and the butterfly and the bracelets, those are all passive wearables. They work using contactless technology. They don't need batteries. We do also support active wearables. So if you have something like, for example, let's say you have a fitness band or something that requires its own battery, we support those as well. But that most of the interest at the moment right now is actually for the passive.
For the passive ones. So there is interest to carry an extra wearable, whether it's a ring or a wristband.
And you also have to think, Efi, what the wearable is. So we think of the wearables as a bracelet or a keyring or something like that. But actually, the wearables could mutate into all kinds of form factors. I mean, it could be in the strap of your handbag, or it could be, it could literally anywhere. The chips are tiny.
The chips are tiny. So I guess the key is to figure out how to offer that technology, not necessarily pre-integrated in, as you said, my handbag or whatever, but detachable. So then you could work with, I don't know, Prada, and my shoes, my pumps could have that,
But yeah, that's a slightly different issue. So you're right about that, but that's actually for a slightly different purpose. So the discussions that we're having with some of the luxury brands and the brand protection people at the moment, it's actually for a slightly different purpose. That's if you have a, I don't know, I can't imagine. Let's say you have a lovely Chanel dress. Chanel make dresses. So you have a lovely Chanel dress, and so inside the label is a chip. That you have the chips in laundry. They put them in little bits of silicone so that you can put them through the laundry. So, but if you want to know if that's a real Chanel, you scan it with your phone, and the chip says, yes, I'm a real Chanel. I'm number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. well, first of all, it doesn't tell you that the dress is real. It tells you that the chip is real. If you want to know that the dress is real, you need the provenance, not just the chip. You need to know which factory did this come.
But what you remind me of what I know two companies here in Switzerland that are doing something similar with with wine bottles.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
so knowing that the chip is real isn't enough. You have to know the provenance, like where did it come from? And that's very problematic because it's very personal and private information. So, I mean, I don't know if we're on our first date, Efi, should I be allowed to just wait until you're not looking and then scan your clothes with my phone to see is that a real dress? Is that a new dress? You know, those new, you know, like that doesn't sound right. That sounds like privacy violation on an enormous scale. So how to actually make all of this work, I'm happy to say, is very complicated. So we are working on that, but that's a separate thing. The two products that so payments is an obvious thing, but we also have the promotional products. So we put chips in things, you know, like rugby balls and statues and things like that. So basically, when the customer touches, so let's say you buy a souvenir of something, you know, and then when you touch it with your phone, it shows you a video of somebody scoring a goal or something like that. But we have
tell me, I mean, if I understand correctly, there's different technologies. There's QR codes, there's NFC, there's barcodes. Is there one of those that is kind of more dominant behind these wearables? The payment wearables.
These, yes, I mean, of course, you could print barcodes on things, and that's certainly doable. Although I have to say, there are some issues around the security of barcodes because, in fact, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often actually, because you know you see barcodes on advertisements in the street.
Yes.
And you know, people print out their own barcodes and stick them on top of them so that when you scan it, you think you're going to the bank to find out about savings products or whatever, but really you're going to a fraudster. You know, that's not so good. No, the point about the contactless is not only do you have the security, you have the speed, you just tap, it's done. But the way we have it set up on the promotional side of things is that the brands can log in at any time and change what those URLs go to.
Okay.
So for example, if I have my little Manchester City football, it has the chip inside it which says, yes, this is an authentic Manchester City souvenir. And when I tap it one week, I see this goal. When I tap it the next week, I see another goal, because the brand can log in at any time and change the redirection. So yeah, so at the moment, those are the sort of two main areas, and the provenance and brand protection.
I mean, if we go back to wearables for payments, I understand that on the one hand, it's better security, but on the other hand, if I lose my ring, if I take it off, you know, because I'm washing my hands and I'm at your house or in a public space and I leave it there, or, you know, or so, I guess if somebody steals it and you know it, of course you can block it like you block your cards. But in general,
I'll give you an example. So my wife happens to prefer the keyring. She likes having the keyring because generally, if she runs into the store to grab something, or she runs into the gas station, she has her keys in her hand, and she can't be bothered to take out her phone and mess around with Apple Pay or something. So she prefers the keyring. So we loaded. So for her keyring, 𝐀𝐁𝐎f happens to be one of the
providers that.
So the way this all works is it's done through a thing called MasterCard bulk enablement. So MasterCard is live right now. Visa is still going through the certifications, but it will be soon. But right now we have MasterCard bulk enablement. So if you have a MasterCard issuer who opts in, 𝐀𝐁𝐎f is one of them. You can load your card. So she loaded her 𝐀𝐁𝐎f card into her keyring, and then she maps her 𝐀𝐁𝐎f card to, actually in her case, to her John Lewis MasterCard. So when she pays with her keyring, she's paying with her John Lewis MasterCard.
Yeah,
works perfectly. If she gets bored with that, she can change it to another card.
Yeah, but if somebody steals the key ring, what happens?
Then on the app, you just turn off the curve card.
You turn off the curve function. How big is this market, David? And when we size it, are we looking at how many wearable units are sold or what is processed through them?
Well, I mean, what we're interested in this context is selling units, and personalization goes with them. I mean, I've seen various projections. I saw a thing from MasterCard a couple of years ago. Actually, I think I saw some projections from Discover as well, pointing towards a pretty sizable market. But it's a lot of different markets.
Very fragmented, right?
Yeah, because for example, somebody like me, I might have my cards in my pocket. I've got Apple Pay, but then I have my Manchester City keyring, which is what I use to pay for things. And maybe I have a silicone wristband, which is what I use if I'm going to go. I mean, this is a hypothetical example. If I was to go to the gym, you know, there's a spate in London. There's been a spate of mobile phones being stolen from gyms. So if you want to pay for something at the gym, a silicone wristband might be a better option. So then I know if I go on holiday, I might get a different one. You know, so. But what I'm very curious about is Terry Smith, who was one of the founders of DigiSec. She says, you know, it's about the transition from utility to fashion.
To fashion.
The fact that if you go to a nightclub, you might want to have a particular bracelet. If you're going shopping, you might want to have a charm. Yes. And like changing our thinking so that these things are seen as fashion rather than utility. I think that's really very interesting, and that opens stuff up, because I mean, some of the watches that have these chips built into them are quite expensive, you know, and I you know, it's not my thing personally, but I can sort of understand why people, if you're going on an evening out, you might want a particular watch, and the transition to fashion is amazing.
Is amazing, and it seems to me that it's a bit. It depends on the regions. You know, what are the trends, the cultural trends, whether it's the teenagers or the social trends. You know, entertainment trends, dress trends, and all those trends affect how people. You know.
And I'm honestly, I'm not a great expert on this, but.
Yeah, but the fragmentation that we spoke about, it to me is quite remarkable, because you're talking about the providers of the technology, but on the other hand, the distributors are mostly banks or financial services providers right now. So, you know, as you said, you might have an account with Barclays, or I might have with UBS, and then that bank gives me a ring if I want it, right? It's more about that, and there's a lot of fragmentation, because if I get my ring from Barclays, it's not going to work with anything else, right?
I don't quite envisage it developing in that direction. I mean, what I hope is that, you know, whenever you go and buy a Prada bracelet, it has a chip inside it, and if you decide to load your MasterCard into it, great. If you don't feel like loading your MasterCard into it, so what?
Yeah, I understand. But where are we at now?
Well, it's in the very early stages. I mean, you saw some of the pretty things that the designers have already put together. I think as those, you know, because the luxury brands obviously are interested in the chips for brand protection as well as for the utility and functionality. And actually, the very luxury brands. And this is a very interesting topic. It's a very interesting topic. So look, if you take the view that these things are purely utility and purely for payments, that would take you down one market, which you understand. Yeah. If you see these things as a platform, like making things intelligent, that opens up some different directions. I just read yesterday about one of the luxury brands selling NFTs for whatever it was, I can't remember, $50,000 or something like this. And so the idea that the chip that's in your bracelet or shoes or something is actually connected to an NFT, which has some kind of functionality because you own it, you control it. That's really, we really don't know where that kind of thing's going to go. It's in its very early stages. So I think it's like, it's this mental shift. We go from seeing these things as utility to seeing them as being fashion. And then we go from seeing them as fashion things for payments to intelligent objects which connect into a wider world.
Wider,
And the ability to do this all using passive connections and contactless is really pretty enabling.
And right now we are stuck with our smartphones in that world, right? Which is something between technology and fashion statement, in terms of, you know, what phone you carry and how you carry it, what case do you have it hanging, the bags that have the special pockets and so on. David, are you an Apple?
I still have from like 2008, 9, something, I can't even remember. I have a couple of Thomas Pink shirts. Thomas Pink began to make shirts that had slots in the cuffs for you to put your contactless cards in, so you could pay with, you know, without a wallet. I still have those. I love those. Yeah. So I mean, you know, the fashion people, you know, they'll experiment with these things if we put them in front of them.
Yeah. You know, here a Swatch in Switzerland was the first watch provider to connect a watch with the internet, and that was in 2004. And the model that they did that was called the paparazzi. Isn't that interesting, right? I mean, in a country that there's no paparazzi, and you know, the connection with the internet was considered that it's like bringing, you know, somebody to sort of see your life, or you have access to that. And here we are 20 years later with this sort of development, as you said, of, you know, the wearables and the NFTs sort of, and the Internet of Things interacting. And the Internet of Things, not only the physical things, but the software things too.
That's
right? Exactly. Because this could give you access to, you know, logins or whatever.
Well, certainly the idea that, you know, you could let's say, I mean, assuming we deal with all of the privacy issues and access management and so on, the idea that, you know, you walk in, you can take your phone and touch a handbag, and it takes you to the NFT of it in the online space. What you would do with this, I have no idea, but I don't collect handbags, so it's outside my But this connection between the physical and the virtual world is really rather interesting.
Yeah, and especially now with the Apple Vision Pro. We're not going to go there, but
that's going to go in interesting directions, obviously.
That's going to go in an interesting direction. I mentioned the Apple Vision Pro because during all the announcements from Apple, obviously that took, you know, 95% of the media and our attention. But apparently there was an announcement that on the Apple phones in the US, businesses now can verify the ID of users through their phone. But I mean, we knew that in certain states it's the driver's license, but they just need another iPhone to do that verification, and they just get exactly what they need, like that you're over 18, you know, to buy the alcohol or whatever it is, that you have a ticket, and they don't store the information. That's what they say. I need to send it to you so you read it. I don't think that the media are really reporting the details, but it's interesting because it hasn't gotten a lot of, you know, attention. and Apple, I feel, does things like that.
I can show you slides I presented 10 years ago
that said the same thing,
which show people using iPhones to read ID cards and to read ID from other phones. It's nothing to do with this discussion about wearables, but I wrote many years ago, and many times, you know, the crucial distinction between the digitized identities that we have now and real digital identities. The real digital identities will be symmetrical, they're intelligent. one of the key things that my digital identity will do is to verify your digital identity. You know, you have to have that symmetry. Otherwise, if you have to have special equipment, or if the guy at the bar just needs his iPhone to check whether you're over 18 or not, great.
Yeah. But the question again is a privacy. In any case, let's return to our wearable data. Are there any regions, like countries, like I was in the Netherlands because my son is studying there in Maastricht, and I'm sure you saw it at Money 2020, like the buses, you just with your phone, contactless, you don't even buy a ticket, you just get in the bus, you go to the contactless stand, and
well, you probably don't remember this, Efi, but many years ago, London was the first place to do this. So you could use your Visa MasterCard instead of having to buy an Oyster card or some other ticket. And Consult Hyperion, which was the consulting company that I helped to found, it was Consult Hyperion who were chosen by Transport for London to be the consultants for that project. We worked on that for 4.5 years. So one of the reasons why I just I feel a straight, even anywhere I go in the world where you could just use your Visa and MasterCard now instead of having to buy a ticket, I feel this strange sense of pride that we helped. And London was the case that a lot of the other transit authorities looked to. Once London had done it, everybody else realized they could do it too. So it's fantastic.
Yes, it is fantastic. How isn't that going to sort of help the wearable payment market?
Yeah, I mean, I if I'm in London during the day, I have a ring, and I use my ring for getting on the subway and buying cups of coffee and stuff like that. I can leave my phone in my pocket.
Yeah, but I don't see, or you don't see, the adoption is not there. It's really early.
It's really early, yeah. But that's it's really early, because I said in the past the supply chain was complicated, but now you'll be able to distribute anything with these chips in, and then personalize it yourself using your phone. That completely changes the market. If you had to fill out, if you wanted to buy, I mean, I'll use Prada as the example, but let's say you wanted to buy a Prada bracelet that you could use to pay on the subway and things like that, you would have to have filled out a form, send something to your bank. The bank has to send something to Prada or Prada's suppliers, or you can't just walk in. Now you can just walk into the shop, pick up the wearable, and use your phone to load your own card into it. That's a different world.
So are there any regional differences or regions and countries that are ahead in terms of their adoption of wearables for payments?
Well, our focus is Europe at the moment, to Efi, although, and the US, and actually, as it happens, possibly Latin America as well for some of these things. But right now our focus is on payments and the next and brands. So, for example, we sold key rings to one of the Spanish football teams, I mean,
yes.
So this is all to do with brand. But there's also a big market growing around events, wearables. You get a band and you get into the event and you can buy drinks with it and all this, and you can't forge them, which is why.
Yeah.
And I think in different parts, though, and then there's also the luxury stuff that you were talking about, like the super fancy watches that have these chips in and things like this. So I think those markets will be different in different geographies. But right now our focus is mainly Europe.
It's interesting. I can imagine the big summer festivals, or that are happening in Germany, or here in Switzerland. We have the big Montreux Jazz Festival, which is for 1 week. So I can imagine that you could have passes of all sorts on your wearable, and especially when you're in crowded places, this gives you a sense of security. Plus, it can be very fashionable, and you can have all sorts of accessories, especially for us women.
I have pictures. We in another context, we tried this out with O2 at a pop festival in London, and that must have been 2000 12. I mean, so the technology has been around for a while. What, like I say, the crucial difference is the ability to load it yourself using your phone. That's what changes everything.
Yeah. So it's, you know, what we see, we don't see behind the scenes. So there has been innovation behind the scenes that is enabling really personalization and profitability at scale. You know, going beyond the ultra luxury watches, Swiss watches, and then, you know, it's much more accessible to everybody.
Yeah, it is. That's true.
Yeah. So I mean, we need to catch up a couple of months down the road to see where things are now that we are back to physical, but still very much into this fusing digital and physical world. David, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Efi. It was lovely to talk to you again.